I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Monday, July the 7th, 2014. Tensions are extremely high in Israel today following a weekend of riots and rocket attacks in the country. The riots began after the body of murdered Palestinian teenager Mohammed Abu Qadir was discovered last week, with suspicion that the 16-year-old was killed as a revenge attack for the murder of the three Israeli teenagers Gilad Shaar, Naftali Frankel, and Eyal Yifrach, who were kidnapped in the West Bank on June the 12th and whose bodies were discovered on June the 30th. Abu Qadir's body was found on July the 2nd, which sparked riots in several parts of East Jerusalem and at the Temple Mount in the Old City of Jerusalem. Several police officers were injured in those clashes and arrests were made. Overnight Friday, an Israeli driver who had to make a detour through the West Bank was injured by Palestinian stone throwers. Rocks were also thrown at the Jerusalem light rail train, causing some damage. Arab riots also took place at the entrance to the West Bank city of Ma'ale Adumim. Two were arrested there. On Saturday morning, the autopsy results of the murdered Palestinian teenager Abu Qadir were released and showed that the boy had been burned alive. Saturday night, several Israelis were attacked in and around Jerusalem, including rocks thrown at an Israeli couple outside of the Old City, lightly injuring the woman. Rocks also were thrown at a bus near Mount Scopus, lightly injuring the driver and two passengers, and Molotov cocktails were thrown at Jewish residents of Nof Tzion near East Jerusalem, near the neighborhood of Jabal Mukaber. Yesterday, Israel announced the arrest of 6 Jewish extremists in the murder of Abu Qadir. Reportedly, the 6 are young men and minors. 3 of the suspects have reportedly confessed to the crime and reenacted it for police. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu unequivocally condemned the murder of Abu Qadir, saying that Israel will punish the killers, and the Prime Minister called the father of the murdered boy today to express his deep condolences, his horror and shock. Netanyahu said to the man, "I want to express my shock and the shock of all Israeli citizens at the heinous murder of your son." He said, "We acted immediately afterward to locate the murderers and they will be brought to justice," adding, "We reject all cruel behavior and the murder of your son is heinous and cannot be accepted by any human being." And dozens of rockets have been fired into southern Israel from Gaza over the last few days. An IDF soldier was lightly wounded by shrapnel from one of the rockets. And just this morning, an IDF unit carrying out routine operations on the border with southern Gaza came under fire. The unit was attacked with an RPG and gunfire. Soldiers returned fire into Gaza. Over 30 rockets have been fired from Gaza into Israel today alone, one reaching as far as just outside of Beersheba. Israel's Air Force conducted several airstrikes in response to the rocket attacks. 9 Hamas operatives were reportedly killed, though it's not clear if that was as a result of the airstrikes or the collapse of a terror tunnel that they were working on. Israel's Security Cabinet met to discuss response to the rocket escalation today, and Israeli media reports that a senior military source said that the IDF had called up some 1,500 reservists as a result of the escalation. And Jewish organizations here in the U.S. have responded to the arrests of the 6 Jewish extremist suspects in the murder of Abu Qadir, commending Israel for the arrests and expressing their horror and sorrow at the killing. National Director of the Anti-Defamation League, Abe Foxman, said unbridled extremist hatred was behind the kidnapping and murder of Naftali Frankel, Gilad Shaar, and Eyal Yifrach, who are mourned around the world. He said, "We cannot shirk from the recognition that unbridled extremist hatred may have led to the kidnapping and murder of Mohammed Abu Qadir as well." He said the Israeli authorities must fully investigate this crime and prosecute all those responsible for this murder to the fullest extent of the law. The Conference of Presidents of major American Jewish organizations echoed the sentiment, saying there has been much suffering this week, and we pray that it will come to a quick end, adding that all violations of the law must and will be thoroughly examined. AJC Executive Director David Harris said that by taking the life of a young Palestinian as an apparent act of revenge, they have desecrated God's name and at the same time done nothing to ease the immense suffering of all those who mourn the tragic murder of the 3 Israeli teenagers. saying that no citizen in a democratic country, and Israel laudably is just such a country, is above the law. Adding that, as Prime Minister Netanyahu has repeatedly said, Israel has the capacity and will to defend itself. It cannot and will not condone those who wish to live by the law of the jungle. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Monday, July the 7th, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader.